Let's run with Strava as the main example for now, since it's arguably the most popular cycling app. Have you ever gone for a ride at a trail network, or on city streets for that matter, and noticed the dotted green lines all over the map on your app? Those are bike paths. It means you can ride your bike there. In Strava they're green, in Garmin Connect they're grey, in Runkeeper they're yellow. They're also identical to each other because they use a common database, OpenStreetMaps. You open your preferred app and instantly there are all these wonderful trails to explore. You don't need to log into Trailforks or anything else. You just start riding. That's simple. Those trails aren't there by accident. Some areas or cities have a better display of trails than others, and that's because at some point in time, a diligent volunteer went to the trouble of adding your trails to that magical free database, OpenStreetMap, or OSM for short, which provides street and trail data for every cycling app out there. In fact, it provides the map layers for every type of app, all your social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, virtually every government on the planet, automotive GPS systems, military, forestry, airlines, universities. OpenStreetMap is absolutely everywhere. It's inside everything. It is the Wikipedia of mapping. And the great thing with OSM, when you load your mountain bike trails, all that data trickles down to every single one of those apps and organizations. You don't need to add them to each app. This means that when someone opens an app, any app that incorporates the cycling layer, which is many, your mountain bike trail network will show up inside those apps. That is why Strava, Garmin, Runkeeper, Komoot, and a zillion others all display the same maps. Why is this important? Well, 1. Not everyone uses Trailforks. It isn't enough to have a QR code on a sign and tell me to download yet another app just to ride your trails. Why should I? I don't want another app, especially one where I have to download an epic amount of map data and where all the cool features are stuck behind a paywall. Is there even Wi-Fi at your park for me to download it? All that aside, sure, have your QR code pointing to Trailforks for riders who want all that stuff, but you could also make it easy for riders who just want to hit the trails and explore. I mean, you want people using your trails, right? 2. Some apps don't work properly without OSM data. The Make a Route feature in Strava is a great example. It's popular for setting up races or social events, but is totally reliant on OSM. If your trails aren't there, Strava can't work out what you're trying to do. You end up having to manually draw lines instead of following established trails, which generates highly inaccurate distances and routes. Similar features in Runkeeper and Komoot are also affected without the OSM data layer. 3. Having your maps show up on multiple apps, whether related to cycling or not, lends credibility to your club. If your maps show up on the GPS of your bank manager's Lexus or your local politician's dog walking app, it visually proves that your club is part of the community infrastructure and not just the whim of a handful of enthusiasts. This type of subliminal marketing greatly increases the likelihood of getting finance or winning grants. 4. Likewise, hikers and horse riders will see that those trails are part of a cycle path network, where they may not be welcome or have to give way to riders. Errant jerks on motorbikes will also think twice before entering uninvited and digging up your trails. Those are just some of the reasons. At this point I've either convinced you or I haven't, so let's assume if you're still watching that you want to get your trails set up on OpenStreetMap. Before we do though, let's take a moment's pause. Before you go adding or editing any bike trails on OSM, make sure you have the permission of the club or person or business who owns or manages the trails. There might be a reason that maps haven't been listed or updated. One example is a small trail network here in the city where I live, Rockhampton, which is owned by the Scouts. From what I understand, the situation is very typical across the world as the scouting movement owns a lot of property. Typically, the Scouts will let mountain bike clubs, hiking clubs, etc. use their trails at certain times and for special events, but they don't want members of the public just turning up willy-nilly. So as a result, I know the trails are there. I don't map them. We map our own mountain bike trail network, but not the Scouts. So that's an example of when not to do it. And finally, be aware that your changes to OpenStreetMap won't download instantly to all the apps around the world. Different apps have varied timeframes for updating their map layers. Strava seems to update their OSM data every few months, while Garmin is more like once a year. So that's why it's important you jump on this as soon as you build a new trail. I've broken the rest of this up into 4 tutorials, about 5 to 10 minutes each. We'll cover setup, then adding a new trail, then editing an existing trail, then adding special trail features like hubs, that sort of thing. At that point, you'll be a pro. I'll then produce an extra optional bonus video where I'll be adding an entire government-owned bike park to OSM, which somehow has completely slipped beneath the radar of their overpaid marketing department. Okay, so let's begin. Thanks for your company. Here's a few more videos you might enjoy. If you enjoyed that one, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. That would mean the world to me. Righto, see you out on the trails next time. Bye.